Hello, my name is Hakim with Takeoff Experts. Today's topic, 3 types of commercial painting takeoffs, will demonstrate the various levels of takeoffs we prepare for painting contractors. I usually make my videos between 5 to 10 minutes, but today I'll be showing you actual drawings of an actual project I had bid on and been awarded, and the actual photographs of areas painted and walls covered. So since this video will be longer, I might have to break it into 3 parts. Let's see how it goes. Instead of using drawings from 3 different projects to demonstrate basic, intermediate, and complex drawings, I will show you the various parts of just one large project we did, from simple items to more complex items, so that you can get an overall picture of the details and some complexities involved in doing takeoffs. Subsequently, you can visualize how you would manage the actual painting project from priming to final coating and touch-ups. This way, you will be able to focus better on the drawings. This will also make you appreciate the value of due diligence required when reading specs and measuring drawings, or as I call it, preparing takeoffs, which enables a painting contractor to prepare a bid with certainty before submission to the GC, the general contractor. I often come across statements by GC which says the lowest bid may not necessarily be accepted. Even when the government awards bids to GCs, they don't always pick the lowest bid. They look at whether the GC has included all the pricing breakdowns that have been requested. A very good example is a breakout price for alternative products or installations. A more specific example would be an alternate price request for installing drywall on ceilings in a large kitchen, for example, instead of acoustic ceiling panels. So in turn, the GC also expects you, as a competing commercial painting project bidder, to provide breakout pricing when requested. This takes a few extra minutes to measure up and cost out, but it has to be done. Otherwise, your bid will be invalid, even if your price for the main part of the project is lower than the other bid. Sometimes this breakout price request comes in addendums following the original floating of the tender. So you have to watch out for that before submitting your painting bid. I hope you will remember this. So let's get down to business. Here is the overall area of the project called St. Joseph Palliative Care Project. This was designed by Wilson Architects, so I would like to thank Valerie Wilson of Wilson Architects for permission to use drawings in my demonstration here. Now, we did this project about 7 years ago, but it's a good case study for demonstration purposes. This building has several wings, as you can see. And the one that we had to do was the 3rd floor hallway and 14 suites in the west wing shown here. It was a full renovation that took about half a year. My scope of work was, of course, painting and wall coverings. Now, I had originally wanted to bid on the painting only, like most of you probably prefer to do, but I figured I could also bid on the wall covering and include it in my overall quote. I will discuss wall covering in part 3. Basic takeoffs. To me, a basic takeoff package would be a project that is small sized, like say 5,000 square feet or a smaller footprint area, with simple scope of work such as painting walls, doors, frames, some ceilings and bulkheads, and maybe a couple of miscellaneous items, etc. This takes about 3 hours to get measured up and costed out. Intermediate takeoffs. An intermediate project would be between 5 to 10,000 square feet, for example, with a similar detail as a basic one, plus a few extras, such as miscellaneous items and 1 or 2 breakout price requests from the GC. This usually takes 4 to 5 hours to measure up and can involve walls, ceilings, doors, frames, some miscellaneous items such as painting, say, fire hydrant cabinets in a hallway, etc. Complex takeoffs. A complex takeoff project would mean several stories or just a single floor project with huge areas and lots of details. This would take 7 to 8 hours or more if there are several buildings within the project. For example, we did takeoffs for one client recently, which was a university renovation project. About 6 buildings had to be renovated. The scope of work in these buildings took 25 hours in total to measure up. If you also want to bid on wall coverings, then that adds to the size or the complexity of the project. Now, may I add here that the size of the project is not always synonymous with the complexity of the project. By complexity, I mean details. Now, technically, measuring areas for wall coverings is not always complicated, but you have to be very careful in your costing because, unlike paint, wall coverings are very expensive and you can't just order it as you need due to possible differences in die lots or batches. Further, it is often subbed out to an installation team from another company. And so you have to be careful that you order the right quantity. And that's what I did. My painters don't install wall vinyl or wallpaper. So I in turn asked for installation pricing from 2 installers. The first one gave me a certain quote and the second installer gave me a quote that was about $1,000 more. Now, I'm wondering if he was just ballparking the work or whether he thought I really wasn't going to get any other bids. Because I remember that we were very busy that year in finding good trades, especially wall vinyl installers, was very difficult. I'm guessing he was just ballparking the scope of the work without doing proper takeoffs or measurements. He could have asked a professional to do proper measurements, gotten his costing done, and maybe his bid would have been more realistic. There is no shortage of painters and even wall vinyl installers who are just ballparking the job without properly measuring the drawings. With wall vinyl installers, a lot of them are very good at installing wall vinyl, but they don't know much about doing takeoffs or measuring. Sometimes it's worth it to pay someone to do the measurements for you rather than ballparking numbers. So to sum up about complex takeoffs, it basically means that the area to be done is large. There is probably a spec manual to follow. There are a lot of details in the drawings to measure. There are separate pricing requirements, and there are addendums and requests for clarification to read before submitting the pricing. So ballparking such complex projects is simply out of the question. The takeoffs have to be done using OST software. Now I might do a separate video in the near future on OST software options. For the sake of doing takeoffs accurately and thoroughly, we always assume that every project is a little bit unique and deserves sufficient time to process, to measure up, even if it is just a basic level project. I often say you can't know everything by watching one video. The industry is continuously evolving and getting more competitive every month, every year. This is especially true here in Alberta. With the economic slowdown due to the ridiculously low oil prices, the home building industry is forecasted to shrink next year. So a lot of contractors are now wanting to bid on commercial painting projects because there won't be as many houses to paint next year due to the low oil prices and on top of that the COVID crisis, which has made things even worse. Don't get left behind in a group of painting contractors that only pursue the simplest and the least challenging, easiest painting projects because everybody wants to bid on that, especially if you have a large enough crew that can handle slightly larger projects. So keep watching these videos so you can bid more jobs, win more jobs. Good luck in your bidding and see you in my next video.